Enjoy the show! Hey, my name's John, and have you ever felt bored or underwhelmed playing a game, thinking to yourself, man, there's just not enough variety here? Yearning for something with so much depth that once you get into it, you'll be obsessed with it to the point that you can't stop? If you said yes to either what I just said, I've got the game just for you. Path of Exile, one of the most notoriously well-known ARPGs, and a game that's so complex, honestly, planning how you play is more than half the game. I started out playing this game all the way back in 2013 when it first released from beta, after a seemingly smooth transition of playing Diablo 2 a few years earlier. Starting out casually playing Domination, coming back during Essence and Breach where this game was the only game I played, and again, full circle as a semi-casual during Ancestor League and the current one, Affliction. And coming back and seeing this game evolve so much for honestly a second time made me appreciate the love the developers put into this game. So after coming back for yet another league, I wanted to take a look back on how my playthrough of Path of Exile felt, and hopefully try to help you decide for yourself if this game is worth a try. This is my experience with Path of Exile. Okay, I've been hyping up Path of Exile so far and it hasn't even been 2 minutes yet. So it's only fair for me to give you a little bit of context on what Path of Exile is and where it came from. Path of Exile, or PoE, is an action-packed, free-to-play ARPG that takes place in the grim and dark world of Rayclass. Developed by Grinding Gear Games, or more commonly known as GG, it's a class-based loot simulator that's known for both its impressive amount of mechanical depth and also for scaring new players from the passive tree. With 7 classes, 19 different subclasses, over 450 different skills, and honestly too many skill trees to count now, its main draw is how expansive the character customization is, backed with a live service model that gets huge patches of content periodically. And if you're familiar with other third-person ARPGs such as Diablo or Torchlight, or even other hack-and-slash loot-oriented games such as Borderlands, you'll feel right at home. So let's start with the basics. In Path of Exile, you start off by picking one of the 7 character classes, each having their own unique starting point on a very big, but notably shared passive skill tree. And unlike other ARPGs, skills in Path of Exile don't come from the character class itself, but rather a unique gem system. And doing so, we have 2 types, active and support gems. Active gems are skilled themselves and can be equipped into a socket with the same color as that gem found in your gear. Doing so lets you use the skill. See this blue socket in my armor and this blue gem that I have? Put it in and bam, a new skill. But honestly, that's the boring half. Now the fun part of this is the support gem system. See all these chains that are linking up? Yeah, turns out they're not just for show. When you insert a support gem that is linked into an active skill, it changes. And some of these passive gems can range from simply adding more critical strike chance, or having skills inflict a certain status type, all the way to having more projectiles and honestly even changing how they work entirely. It's an incredibly flexible system that allows any class to play any skill. And just like any loot-oriented RPG, you go through the campaign all while gearing up your character. And although the campaign is a long 10 acts, there isn't really anything to write home about here. The real game comes from when you reach the end game. When you reach maps. Maps are the end-game procedurally generated and progressive content that you're honestly playing this game for. They allow you to customize and create your own zone that caters to your character, but also in its own system progression. In typical Path of Exile fashion, it's done with leveling and a skill tree. Honestly, what'd you expect? But trust me, you're here for the loot, and I'm gonna say that scales really well too. One of the most unique aspects of Path of Exile is that there's no equivalent of gold in this game. Rather, the currency of choice are orbs, which allow you to modify items if you're choosing, be them regular equipment, maps, and honestly just whatever else you have. And look, there's a lot more to cover about just how much depth Path of Exile has, but the rest you'll have to try and explore for yourself. And like all other live service games, it still continuously receives updates in the form of expansions, leagues, and patches, pretty much making sure that you'll never run out of builds to make. The modern Path of Exile experience caters to a certain type of player, the dedicated, the hardcore, and the clinically insane who want a game with so much depth that they could realistically never play through even a fraction of it. And that's the first and arguably best reason for playing this game. You can play your way. And I don't mean that in terms of simply swapping a few pieces of equipment and calling it a day. Instead, the very core game mechanics in Path of Exile is aimed at allowing not only a ton of build diversity, but also something we don't talk about, content diversity. You see, in addition to making your character and building them how you want, you can also, in good depth, choose how you want to engage in the endgame as well. Like delving all day long? Well, how about some more Nico nodes and getting more sulfite to fuel all your runs? Can't seem to see enough of Cassia and the tower defense gameplay? Okay, how about making your tower stronger and blight and counter spawn more often? Want to really take your build to the hardest content and fight bosses? Okay, there are nodes that let you fight even bigger versions of them. Or honestly, just want to run maps without all the other stuff? Well, you can guess there's gonna be nodes for that too. And for this reason, sure, you can pick across from any of the number of customization options that PoE has and say it's good. But really, it's the layering of everything, from when you first pick your class, to selecting an ascendancy, all the way to picking an endgame atlas that makes the gameplay experience feel so fresh every time. Not to mention that the item and power-ups in PoE aren't limited to your standard out-of-the-box number go up moments, but rather you can feel that sudden moment of power spike when you allocate an important node or get a core item for your build. The finisher on top is that the crafting and orb system in Path of Exile is really intricate and allows you to create and generate items to your heart's desire. And the best part of all? It's free! No pay-to-win system, no membership or subscription fee, and arguably this, despite all of the game's very favorable reviews from both critics and players, is its biggest draw. And the biggest thing that it has over Diablo, which, let's be honest, has a pretty hefty price tag. Whenever I ask someone to try out this game, simply letting them know that it's free is often enough of a reason for them to give it a try, because among all the other things, who doesn't like a free lunch? With temporary leagues that bring in a huge amount of content when playing, you'll never really feel bad starting this game later than others, because unlike other traditional MMOs, you're never really that far behind. And during a new league, you have the same fresh economy and footing as everyone else starting out. And that's why even after all the characters I made, there's still no better feeling than after going through the campaign with your half-finished, unpolished build to finally have everything come together and mesh as your build finally works, and to happily repeat the process over and over again. So far, I've been singing happily along the praises of this game, but as you can imagine, a game with this much complexity, it's both its main upside and downside. Ironically, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that this is a stupidly complex game. You got not one, not two, but 3 skill trees you have to navigate yourself across. Not to mention that for this league in particular, you have another one on top. And because of this, new players might find it overwhelming at a first glance at just how cumbersome it is to learn everything. Look, it's obvious that Path of Exile isn't catered to a more casual player base, and I would never complain about a game where that's its main charm. So much so that just complaining about it can annoy certain people. Enough for them to say with an equally annoying and arrogant voice, just play Diablo. But the main point is that this game is unforgiving to just get into, and I don't mean that in terms of there's a lot of mechanics to learn, but rather if you do go into this game unsuspectingly without a guide or a build, chances are you're gonna break your first character beyond repair. And if you are someone that has played Path of Exile before, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's not a joke to say when the biggest piece of advice for a new player is to literally just copy someone else's build at the start. Because on a more subjective matter, this game isn't as balanced as you might think it is, with nearly half of all builds in any given league playing the same 2 to 3 tried and true skills. And even worse if you're a melee fan, unless you enjoy playing like his release. Or you're a masochist. I won't judge. But honestly, once you get into 1 and 2 characters, you'll think nothing of the 2 points I just mentioned. What you will hate, however, for almost all your existence playing PoE is trading. There's no in-game trading auction house of any sorts. Rather, you need to rely going on the official Path of Exile trading website, searching for your items and manually messaging the seller yourself, like you're on Craigslist looking to buy a used PS5. Oh, look, I need to buy a unique item that's required to, I don't know, make my build work? A bit painful, but honestly, could be worse. Need to start buying rare items? Even worse if I need specific resistances or attributes? Have fun searching through the website and filtering the fields only to be ignored when you message them. And please, the only way you're selling or buying any form of currency is through one of the many trade bots listed out there, which really just makes you think, isn't this whole damn thing just a more tedious auction house experience? Look, trade has always been contentious, so if you want an edgier view of this, I recommend watching Seth's video on it, which does a better job of encapsulating the insanity than I ever could. Also, there's a small complaint about this game, but it's very hard to play without both third-party tools and websites. Both the ones in-game that actually let you price check your items, but also the ones that let you see the economy in depth, and hell, even as simple as something as filtering loot. Want to know how the default game looks without third-party tools? Want to know how it looks without it? Yeah, good luck picking up Chaos Orb, or better yet, hope you don't accidentally drop a Divine. And lastly, this game, with a lack of better words, doesn't run very well, and at times might require a literal supercomputer to run without downscaling. And part of that is, okay, yes, it's not super optimized, but also because some endgame builds are just so ludicrous in how they work that honestly, you can just take it as a sign of validation that, yeah, you got a good build on your hands. Some of you might be familiar with other ARPGs, and I've been going on and on about Diablo, but if you're coming through with any type of prior experience playing, you'll be good. Personally, Diablo's a good game, especially if you're more of a casual player or one that's very narrative driven. Ask 10 PoE players what the story is behind Sin and Innocence, and they'll tell you likely to just shut up and put the map in already. However, the bigger news is that in 2024, PoE 2 will be releasing with completely new classes and ones that are intended to be fully compatible with PoE 1. And it's supposedly to be a massive update and an overhaul of both the base mechanics of the game while also keeping the same universe and the basic feel of it. A new campaign, graphics, and even a new gem system. And it's something to keep in mind when going to Path of Exile as something in the horizon to look forward to. Now, am I going to guarantee that you'll enjoy this game? Certainly not, and there's a fair amount of reason given that it's overly complex and daunting. And given that games like these are always more catered to hardcore players who have time and energy to grind out a game, it wouldn't be that far of a stretch to call this more of a episodic MMO in disguise. And for the casual or newcomer, it's a completely good option to simply copy a build that's good and explore the aspects of the game for yourself before ultimately plunging yourself into the deep abysses of Path of building. I highly recommend you give this labor of love a try. It's a true testament to a developer's willingness to improve and create their game. Even after 10 years since its official release, it seems like there's just as much love put into development as there was before. As always, thanks for watching, until next time.